Hi, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the six thinking hats, a tool that you can use with your teams to lead discussions and brainstorming. In a typical free for all discussion, one person may be talking about all the problems, another person is perhaps only talking about the benefits, another person is brainstorming new ideas, and maybe a fourth person doesn't even know what the topic is or the relevant information. This is what some people call spaghetti thinking. And when emotions run high and the outcome is important, our discussions spiral down very quickly. Though it's not intentional, sometimes the strongest personalities in the room or those with more status will dominate the meeting, and other members will feel unable or unwelcome to contribute, their voices being lost by being unspoken or unheard. I've learned in these situations it's best not just to wing it or hope for the best, but to use a framework to intentionally guide the discussion. And this is where the six thinking hats can really be useful to us. The six thinking hats were developed by Edward de Bono in the 1980s. And simply put, it helps us learn how to think about an issue together. Each hat represents a different lens or perspective, and the approach requires that all participants wear the same hat at the same time. We'll all put on one hat, connect on that aspect, and then take that hat off and put the next hat on together. And let me just emphasize why this is so important for us. We deeply affirm the dignity and value of every person. We believe that love and grace should be expressed among us in community. So we want a culture of dignity, love, and grace on our teams, but we also want the best decisions on real issues. So to do that, we need to think about things from all points of view to get a well-rounded perspective to make better decisions. The sixth thinking hats may feel a bit artificial initially, but it can help you to guide your team through these waters. So let's just take a look at each one of these for a minute. The first hat is the blue hat. This is the exception to the rule in that it's only worn by the leader or facilitator. It's like the conductor in an orchestra. It manages the process, and the facilitator keeps this hat on at all times. Discussions begin and end with the blue hat. The blue hat also signals when to change hats and which hat to wear next. The blue hat at the end will begin by framing up the discussion, and at the end will summarize and draw conclusions. The white hat is an objective way of thinking. It's about information, both known and needed. The red hat is about feelings. Your emotional thinking, subjective gut instincts. Now, when we ask people to wear the red hat, we're asking them to share their raw, unjustified emotions about a situation or issue without explaining or analyzing why they feel the way they do. We encourage them to keep it short, 10 to 20 seconds. They may say something like, "I'm stoked. I couldn't be more excited," or "I feel comfortable with this idea," or "I have a hunch that something isn't right here," or "I feel disappointed and a bit fearful." There's no need to explain or justify feelings. Encourage other members to listen to validate others' feelings without having to feel the need to feel the same way. The point here is not to explain the why you feel it. You'll have an opportunity to explain your thinking in the following hats. And the real benefit with the red hat thinking is that we often hide our feelings behind our reasons. And when feelings aren't explicitly disclosed in teams, the discussion becomes much more difficult and more complex than it needs to be. Now, those of us who are a T on the MBTI may struggle here. We may know our thoughts and reasons, but we may not be aware of our feelings. And so you can use a tool like the feelings wheel to help everyone identify what they're feeling. So you can Google that and start using that in your meetings. The next hat is the yellow hat. The yellow hat is optimistic about pluses, benefits, and opportunities. We all have a tendency to be positive about our own ideas or ones that will benefit us. With the yellow hat, regardless of how everyone feels about the idea or issue, this helps us get everyone's eyes on the potential benefits. Now, on the other side is the black hat. Yes, we all know the black hat. The black hat is critical, skeptical, focused on risks and identifying problems. It's the risk management hat. And you know what? It's perhaps the most powerful hat, but a difficult one if overused. The black hat is the hat of survival. We need to know what to avoid. We need to know what's not good for us. The black hat spots difficulties where things might go wrong. It points out issues of risk with an intent not to be critical, but to overcome them. The black sees what is contradictory, illegal, dangerous, unprofitable, hurtful, and so on. It can also point out things that don't match our calling, values, and vision. The next hat, the green hat. This is lateral thinking, new ideas, brainstorming, and out-of-the-box ideas. This is where you let everyone's creative juices flow. Everyone is expected, when they put on the green hat, to make a creative effort, regardless of their personal feelings or position on the issue. Together, let's modify and improve these ideas. Obviously, this is a hat that deserves a video of its own. How do we think more creatively? Made in the image of God, the most creative being in the universe, we all can grow in our green hat skills. So that's the 6 thinking hats. Now, how do we use the 6 thinking hats? Let me suggest 2 different ways that you could use it, 2 different settings. The first one being discussing a difficult issue, and second, brainstorming. When discussing a difficult issue, the blue hat always frames things up. For example, today we're going to talk about the weekly NAV night. And then we go to white. White gives the needed information. You may have heard that the university has chosen not to allow us to use the student union this year for our meetings. So it's also, next we'll go to the red hat. It's always great to start with the red hat next. If there are strong emotions on a particular issue, consider evoking the red hat early in the discussion to clear the air. Let's go around and share your feelings about this decision. The yellow hat. Let's think, even regardless of how you feel, what are some of the benefits and opportunities that this decision gives us? The black hat. What are the risks and dangers to us? The green hat. What are some creative solutions we can have to mitigate and to limit some of these problems we just listed? And then it's great to go back to the red. Feelings often change following a detailed discussion. You can guide the discussion back to the red hat multiple times in the discussion. And then, of course, finally, the blue hat. The blue hat's going to summarize, draw conclusions, and identify next steps. The process is similar for brainstorming, of course. The blue hat always frames things up. Today we're going to brainstorm on themes for next year's Bible study, the blue hat may say. And so then this time you may identify the information as, well, we need 35 different Bible discussions for next year. We'll dive into green. Let's generate a lot of different possibilities and ideas. Then the blue hat may choose 1 to 2 ideas, and let's now put on the yellow hat for each of these ideas. What are some of the benefits and positive points? What are some of the difficulties and risks if we choose these? And then let's go back to green. How do we now how do we do things that will improve these ideas and creatively overcome these problems? And then at the end, it's great to use the red hat. Which of these ideas do you feel the best about? Do you feel the most open about? And of course, then the blue hat will summarize and identify next steps. As your team becomes more familiar with the hats, you can use them at any time, not just in the middle of a structured discussion or brainstorm. For example, you could ask, everyone put on your red hats. I want to go around and hear everyone's feelings on this issue. Or can we put on our white hats for a minute to confirm some details before we dive too deeply into this discussion? Or let's put on our black hats. What unintended consequences or risks might we not be considering in this situation? Or the green hat. Julia has brought up some really significant concerns here. Can we all put on our green hats for a minute and see if we can come up with some creative solutions to mitigate these concerns? After all, that's just you leading, knowing which hat is appropriate at which time. Finally, a small caveat. Like every tool, the 6 thinking hats may not be appropriate in every situation. We need to be aware of cultural influences. For example, when wearing a red hat, a Japanese person may say, I feel uncertain, while an American might say, I hate this, when both are actually expressing the same feeling. Additionally, some cultures may not normally express their emotions or opinions openly in front of strangers or in front of their seniors. It's your role as leader to really know and connect with your team members to choose the right approach to make your team safe and effective. If you're interested in learning more, I've added some links to the book and some other resources in the video description. That's all for now. Take care.